Welcome, 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 everyone. Happy Friday. We're super excited to have you here with us today to debut our Beyond Boundaries Masterclass. We'll be holding a masterclass bi-weekly to cater to you, giving you insights on how you can develop yourself as an individual in tertiary education while promoting personal growth. We as Phoenix fully are committed to students' academic success, and we believe this is best achieved with holistic support. And that is why we have decided and have always had these webinars for you guys. And that's why we have such amazing guest speakers to expand on their expertise and share their knowledge with you to better your academic journey and also prepare you for entering the workforce. Our masterclass are catered to you to develop you personally in terms of your mindset, your personal growth, and also to get you ready for the workforce and for job readiness, right? We know that going into your academics, going into tertiary education, the fear is what happens next, what's next, how can I prepare for that? And that's what we want to do. So let's push your boundaries of understanding and expand on how you can develop your current skills today. So we will be joined by two amazing guest speakers. We'll be having Nathan Kaiser and Viwe Kobokana, right? And they will be expanding on how you can develop your leadership skills while being within the university space and how you can utilize that when you are moving into the workspace and how you can be ready for that job, ready and using those skills that you have to utilize them on your CV and also to make you more employable and stand out in comparison to your other peers. So before we kick off, I just want to tell you about, how if you have any questions or if there's anything else you'd like to add, there is a toggle box that has a triangle, a square, and a circle where you can add your questions and we'll answer them at the end. So just keep a lookout for that. There will be a poll question that does come on. So please get excited and get ready and maybe question, what is this poll question? Is it something that I'm curious about? Is it something that, I actually want to answer? Will I answer the poll question? So guys, just keep a lookout for that as well. So to kick off, our first guest speaker will be Nathan. Nathan Kaiser is currently employed as a coordinator within the Student Leadership Academy at the University of Western Cape. He is a registered counselor with the HPCSA. So guys, if you have any problems, maybe you can go to Nathan. He's also a certified personal development coach focusing on coaching within the workplace. He has been in the student development field over the past 10 years, and has predominantly focused on holistic student development and peer-to-peer prevention intervention within the higher education sector. So with that being said, I will be handing over to Nathan. We're super excited to hear what you have to say and to see your beautiful, beautiful face. Take it away, Nathan. Just having a minute. We'll just wait on for a second. Just put a thumbs up if you guys can hear me, just to make sure that you guys can hear me. Awesome. Let me just check on Nathan. Just give us a second.
My apologies, Seho. This is
No
what happens.
stress.
It's Murphy's Law. It's Murphy's Law. This is what happens. I was on early, 1:45 already, and then my connection wants to die. Literally, as you tell me.
No problem. It's the internet. It's gonna do whatever it's gonna do.
It's definitely gonna do that. Hopefully, you can hear me now.
Yeah, definitely. We can hear you.
Okay. For some reason, I can't see the presentation in front of me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open it on my side. I think it's my connection that has caused this. I'm going to open it on my side and then speak through. Oh, there you go. It's back on. Perfect. Okay. Can I go ahead, Seho?
Yes, you can go ahead, Nathan. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon to everyone, and my apologies for this little bit of connection issue that just took place. If it happens again, I will somehow reincarnate and reappear on your screens in some way. But thank you, Secha, for the introduction. And for me, it's always a pleasure to be back here at Phoenix, knowing the wonderful work that you guys do and the way that you develop students. I think you don't just ensure that they are funded and don't just ensure that they have the funding opportunities for themselves, but you develop them holistically. And that is what student development is about. But now today, I really want to just speak to you about a few key topics around how you develop yourself and your leadership skills within the higher education context. I find myself working in a student leadership academy. And weirdly enough, about 15 years back when I did my undergrad degree, I was also a student leader in my own capacity. And this has propelled me and helped me to navigate my way into the workforce, but also working specifically within the university sector. So I want to talk about what really makes an effective leader, firstly, then also what do you need to develop leadership skills and capabilities within the university structure, and then how do you start leading, group projects in organizations. And then also very importantly is finding the balance. We need to find the balance in everything that we do. And then lastly, we'll see and just look at the possibilities of what leadership skills and employability have in common and what the benefits there are for you as well. I take it, Sejo, there's the hands that's going up. You will probably acknowledge them afterwards. I see a few hands and people
100%.
coming in. So firstly, I want to talk about what leadership is and what makes an effective leader. I want to start off by really reassuring and telling you that leadership over the years has been over-glorified. Leadership has become an unattainable thing that you really have to strive towards, that you have to sometimes, put on your goal list and maybe one day I will also be a leader. Please scrap that. Leave that behind and immediately tell yourself, I am a leader. I'm a leader in my own right. I'm a leader because I have motivated myself. I have encouraged myself. I have led myself to become a student at the higher education institution. You are one of those top, very few percentage of people that has made it to higher education institution within this country, which means you have already started with self-leadership. And so that is exactly where we start with leadership, self-leadership. How do I lead myself and how do I become more self-aware of myself? What are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? What is my values? And how do I carry myself, within this world that I navigate in? And so I'm going to talk about the self-awareness quite a lot because we are sometimes led by people that are not supposed to be leading us because merely they don't have self-awareness. They don't know their strengths, they don't know the weaknesses, and they don't understand themselves fully. And so what we have to do to understand ourselves fully is also to start self-regulating ourselves. And this means to have one of, I think, the greatest superpowers you can ever have. It's called emotional intelligence. Now, emotional intelligence helps us to realize how do we manage our emotions and behaviors, and it recognizes triggers within ourselves as leaders. So as a leader, you start realizing what makes me special, but what are the things that triggers me? What are the things that I shouldn't be part of? What are the things and the causes and the possible opportunities that I should grab onto, and what aligns within my trajectory? We are so often, and in the week, I spoke to a few students because we have facilitation sessions, and we spoke about the concept of students always being busy and doing a lot. And how you start doing so many things, and there's some of you probably here that is doing the exact same thing, but it's not in alignment with who you are, what you're here to do, and how you are called to serve. And it's also not in alignment with your future goals yourself. So you got to start regulating what are the opportunities and the things that you possibly want to be involving. But then at the same time, like I said earlier, it's about the motivation you have. In the core of effective leader and leaders is service. You might be on your own individual journey when it comes to leadership. You might be in a certain context where you only do leadership in the political arena. That is okay. You might only be a leader within social justice, and that is okay as well. But in the center of all of those fields of leading in is going to be service. It's or serving a cause, or serving others, or serving yourself. And so you have to ask yourself when you start and you want to be a better leader and you want to tap into your leadership skills is who am I serving? Why am I serving them? And how is it aligning with my future goals? If you are sincere in your leadership abilities and sincere in why you lead and who you lead, you will always then align it with who you ultimately supposed to be. And it really makes me think of the service leadership Nelson Mandela had. And then we know politically, Nelson Mandela gotten a lot of flack for his political involvement and even post, afterwards as well. But one of the things we can say about Nelson Mandela is the service-oriented leadership that he has emulated. Now, service-oriented leadership is something, and when you think of the example of Nelson Mandela saying at the Rivonia trial, it's an ideal I'm willing to die for. It's when you're so tapped into a cause that you're willing to sacrifice and you're willing to do the work that needs to be done because you are serving not only yourself and your own goals and for self-betterment, but you're serving a community. You're serving people and you want to be part of change. It is the Mahatma Gandhi saying in quote that says, be the change you want to see in the world. You cannot sit back and not be part of the change and say, I thought of the idea, now you guys go and do it. Service-oriented leadership means you are in the core. And sometimes when you're in the center of leadership, you will go missing in it. And that is okay. Because if you go missing in it, it's okay because everybody else, you've started the movement and everybody else has now understood the vision and you've shared your vision in leadership with others. The moment you always want to be uplifted and you always want to be seen out of the crowd, that means leadership becomes about you then and not about the cause and not about what you want to do. And so that is why I want to highlight some of the key traits of effective leaders. And that number one is empathy. Understanding others and knowing that people come to you, they serve with you, alongside you, and not very important, alongside you. They serve alongside you through their own journeys, their own experiences, their own values, and their own weaknesses and their own strengths. And the moment you become a leader that is empathetic, you start seeing that people come from different perspectives and different viewpoints, and you can respect their opinions and move forward in your leadership through that. You also lead with integrity. You lead that you stand for what you are, and you also walk the talk and you're action driven. With integrity means that you cannot live this life and then lead in this field, but these two do this. There's this cross action. You have to align both, and that people see you and they watch you, especially on campus. We know a lot of the controversy around student leaders sometimes is when they get involved in cases and issues around GBV, corruption, those kind of things. And yes, a lot of cases they are expelled, they are relinquished from their duties because of not being a leader with integrity. A leader needs great communication skills. And when we say communication skills, please sit there and hear me correctly. I'm not saying you have to be a public speaker. I'm not saying you have to be doing speeches every day. Not all leaders are those ones that's going to stand at the podium and suddenly speak to the world. But you need to communicate and share the vision. You need to communicate with others around what you stand for and why you're there. You might never lead from the front, or you might not even lead from the back. But you, in whatever position you find yourself, you are there to share with others. And communication is very key to that. And then a leader needs to be agile, needs to adapt. A leader always needs to adapt to circumstances, context, and various environments and realize it's not all about them, because you become less open to change when it's all about you and your vision and your goal and what you want from it. But when you make it as a collective effort, you can adapt to it, because we're doing what we need to do for the greater good. And so think of these qualities, think of some of these traits, think of some of these points I mentioned, and ask yourself, am I a true leader then? Am I already a leader? Because I think you'll be surprised to realize that you already have some of these traits. It's not this unattainable goal. It's not this thing that you must still work hard towards. It's stuff you already have within yourself, and you are already leading yourself. But what I also want to talk about is developing that leadership capabilities within the university context. You come from high school and from a secondary school background, and you come into higher education and you're overwhelmed. You get so overwhelmed with what is happening around you and how do you get involved. And you have to start by first figuring yourself out, like I said, but how you get involved is by doing the smallest bit that you can. Leadership and involvement in leadership in co-curricular activities doesn't mean you always have to serve on the SRC. Doesn't mean you have to have a political affiliation and be part of EFF or SASCO or wherever. In our office, what we do is very separate from the governance office, is that we promote non-positional leadership. Non-positional leadership means you are part of an initiative, a club, association, a volunteer group. We have a nature reserve and we have a group of students that just volunteer to be in the nature reserve every week and helping, what happens in the nature reserve. That is leadership because they're tapped into a cause, they're contributing and they are serving. That is what it is. It's as simple as that. It is not the big organizations. It doesn't mean you have to be on the executive because guess what? On your resume, eventually, you will still put the capabilities and the skills, and those skills and capabilities are always still the same, even if you're an executive or not. So don't over glorify leadership. Enhance yourself with soft skills. Our program that we have at UWC within the Student Leadership Academy is the Emerging Leaders Program. And what we do is we take students through a year of sessions and master classes of speaking about public speaking, conflict management, critical thinking, innovation and creativity. And so with you honing in on those skills, doesn't mean I said hone in on it, enhance the skills, doesn't mean you don't have the skills already. You have all of the soft skills already. You just need to enhance it. And sometimes it's great to enhance it with other like-minded people. So find a course, find a masterclass, find some kind of co-curricular workshop that is held by residences or a group of people that you can also then enhance your soft skills. And that might even just happen through group discussions that they have on campus. You tap into your critical thinking. But also, if you can, seek mentorship. This is not always possible, and that I know very, very much, is that mentorship can sometimes be misleading, and people sometimes want to mentor you for their own gain. And so be very careful when you seek mentorship. Seek mentorship that aligns with your field, your goals, and where you want to go. And then also try and learn and take from your mentors, but do not emulate and try and copy what they did. Try and, if you are remember self-awareness, if you know who you are, you know what to take and you know what not to take. And so when with mentorship, a great mentor will always take what you have and help you with that, and then see you through a journey that you want to take. And then what is important again is the self-reflection. Reflect on yourself, reflect on your journey, reflect on where you're at. And right now, as you sit there, ask yourself, what have I achieved already? Am I a leader? And what do I still need to work on? And like I said earlier, I promise you, you will sit there and realize that you are truly a leader within your own right already. So self-reflection helps us to keep track with our goals and our growth as leaders, and figure out the things that we still need to tap into. Maybe it's a bit of communication, maybe it's a bit of self-leadership. Whatever it is, just know that you always have to go back into yourself. I call it it's a mechanism we have within ourselves when issues and challenges arises, is that we go external first. And so the rule for me always is within leaders that in our sessions we do with our leaders, we say, first go internal and say, what have I contributed? And why is this triggering me? And what can I do personally to change the trajectory of what's happening right in front of me? So think of those capabilities and think of what is it that you have already and what is it that you would like to work on, because you already sit with most of these. But how do you balance this? We know at higher education institutions, and I'm lying, is that some of our student political leaders are at the institution forever, you know. They are here for a good 8 to 10 years and they're still straggling along with that undergraduate degree. There's nothing wrong in the entirety of that, but we know it's problematic, because what happens with people when they are in certain leadership roles is that they become mini staff members of the institution. They forget about what they are primarily there for, and they desert and they divorce themselves from their studies and their academics. And so you need to find the balance between occupying leadership roles and your academic responsibilities. It is all about time management. using the steps, using the necessary resources that is put in place for you to know when you can attend a meeting and when you can't attend a meeting, when you can be part of an initiative, a project, an activity, a outreach, and when you can't be part of it. We have this rule now within our co-curricular structure is that we do not have co-curricular activities when it's test series and exams period within the higher education institutions. Hopefully, some other higher education institutions also have this rule in place because when it's exam time, students need to be focused. For the primary need at higher education institutions is to succeed at their studies. So learn to prioritize and learn to say no. You don't have to be in every club. You don't have to be in every association. You don't have to be in every single structure. Because guess what? If you in 2 of them or in 10 of them, the abilities, the skills are the same. So don't oversubscribe yourself in trying to be the superhero and leaving an institution with no degree, but a whole list of serving on associations where you could have just served on 2 with your degree as well. Maintain your academic performance. Always seek the consultation of your lecturers as well, and make sure that you take care of yourself. People are oversubscribing, and we find that not only people in the workforce, but students are burnt out. Students are burnt out because they live in expectation that they should be everywhere, serve everyone, and live up to people's expectations. And that is not fair. It's not fair towards you as a leader, and it's not fair to the people that is actually trying to pressurize you. So practice mindfulness, meditation, the internal reflection, exercise if you can, but also get a supporting team and network around you. That one friend you can offload on, that you're so angry at what's happening around you, but make sure that you're taking care of yourself. I believe in the cup analogy when we talk about self and self-care and managing yourself, is that whenever you pour into the cup, take things that you need to pour into this cup for yourself. You know you need to exercise, you know you need to read, you need to watch motivational videos, you need to speak to your mother every now and then, you need to, get yourself the right information, and make sure all of those things that fulfills you goes into your cup. And then there's a saucer that holds this cup. And everything that overflows is for others, but what's in the cup is for you. You cannot operate from an empty space, people. You cannot lead from an empty space. And people cannot follow a leader that has nothing to give. Make sure you still have within you to give. And that starts by taking care of yourself. You are not expected to be everything to everyone as a leader. You're expected to lead with integrity, empathy, and with great communication. You're not expected to be somebody's savior. So please, let's go with the savior mentality that we have and think of leaders. But what I want you to realize in the importance of leadership is today is that leadership helps you to become more employable to the world of work. Leadership shows certain skills that is not always demonstrated within your academic transcript. The academic transcript says that you qualified as a lawyer, you qualified in law, as a nurse, as occupational therapist, as a psychologist. It does not mean you have the soft skills, which is probably now the top reasons and the top ways that people get employed is through soft skills first. Is that yes, there's a piece of paper, but I need you to show leadership skills, teamwork, communication skills, critical thinking. And the only way I can see that you've participated in enhanced these skills is through co-curricular or leadership initiatives. And so make sure that you always try and boost your employability possibilities as well. So show the ability, and what it does, it demonstrates initiative and proactivity. It shows that you know that you have to go beyond of what is just there. It also shows ability to work in teams, like I said, but it provides concrete examples. And I'm going to just take you through a few of them. With employability skills, at the moment people look for on your resume, your CV, is communication, teamwork, problem solving, adaptability, technical skills. If you're part of a leadership structure or any association, any club, any workshop, or you attend any workshop or development course, it shows that you have some vision, you have strategical thinking, you can then possibly resolve or manage conflict, you know how to be coached and mentored, but also that you have decision-making skills. And you think, how do people know this, Nathan? Is that is enhanced and that is developed through being involved and getting involved in leadership, and in leadership opportunities at campus. What it also does, and it focuses on your employability skills of some people's capabilities of how they will cope within that specific job. When you lead in teams and when you're part of teams that is out external from your academics, it shows that you have focus to survive within the workforce or workspace as well. What it does as well is within the job searching, when you do go in and search for a job, it shows that you are capable or you are then up for possible advancement within your career. So what is crucial for the growth of a company, crucial for the growth of you as an employee and the engagement of that, what I usually say to students is the degree will possibly get you in the door. The co-curricular record that shows that you were involved on campus gets you a seat at the table. And what you need is a seat at the table to thrive. We don't just want to be the person that gets into the door and we suddenly stand at the back of the room always. We want a seat at the table. And a seat at the table means you have to tap into, there's more capabilities and abilities within yourself that you need to tap into. And leadership, it starts with leadership. So there's an overlap between them. And there's an overlap between the strong employability skills that can enhance your leadership potential, and then how you are as an effective leader and how you can foster and develop your employability skills within the team members you're going to work with within the workforce. So just as a quick statistics, according to the 2021 National Association of Colleges and Employers, is that leadership is amongst the top 5 skills employers seek now in new graduates. 80% of employers say leadership experience in college makes a candidate more desirable. And why leadership skills? They don't see it as one skill. With leadership comes a range of other skills as well. And we spoke about that already. So don't see it as just one skill. Don't ever list it. So include it in your CV, people. But don't include it just as a leadership skill. Include all the things: critical thinking, innovation, teamwork, conflict management, emotional intelligence. Include those skills in the resume alongside your mention of the leadership structure that you were involved in. Prepare the stories and demonstrate those leadership capabilities through in interviews. Speak about examples when you, as a structure, had to organize an event for residents and the conflict that you were involved in and the outcome of it and what you had to do. Don't underestimate these stories. It shows you have project management skills. It shows that you have foresight. It shows you have vision. It shows that you know how to implement and work on an outcome and on the outcome of a specific project. Build your professional network through leadership experiences, but also build out a portfolio. We are doing portfolios with our leaders now. Every little workshop and seminar you've attended, put that poster there and say that as well. And put it there and work on a separate portfolio for yourself as your co-curricular portfolio. You guys are involved in the most amazing things. You start your own organizations. You start your own discussion groups within residences. Put those things down and start your own portfolio. You are a leader within your own right in everything you do at a higher education institution and on campus. So to end off with, I want to remind you that effective leadership and leadership ultimately is a very far-fetched thing. Make leadership about yourself first. Make leadership about all the opportunities. Effective leadership is it combines self-awareness, its service in the center, and key personal traits. University has numerous opportunities for you to get involved. It's not always political, people. It is anything that you get involved in. And it's also those things that you initiate yourself. Find the balance between your leadership roles and your academics, but also when you do that, put it down in your CV, put it down in your portfolio. Make sure that you use your leadership skills to your own leverage. Mahatma Gandhi says to us always that the best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. I really hope and I wish that everyone that navigates this earth finds the reason why they're here. We are all here for something. We are all here to contribute to something. But through that, you can serve others, you can serve yourself, and you can serve the greater good of the communities that you involve yourself in. So I hope that you all are now greater and find yourselves to know that you are greater leaders and that you are actually a leader where you're sitting at on campus now. Thank you, Seho.
Sure, Nathan, thank you so much for just giving us so much insight. I wish when I was a student leader that I got that kind of insight as well, and I think it's amazing to see that, you speak a lot about, being a servant leader. When you usually throw that out, people are like, what does that mean? Being of service to others, and also just how you can get involved, not just through SRC, not just through political, like, parties and things like that, but within the university in spaces that you might even enjoy yourself, and I just want to say thank you so much for showing us how you can develop those leadership skills and how you can use them to be more employable. And I just want to add, for you guys that have a question, please put it in the Q&A section in the activity box, which has a triangle, square, and circle. And I just want to give a big thank you to Nathan. If you have any questions for him, please put them in the question and answer box in the activity section, which has the triangle, the square, and the circle. Okay, and you can click on the Q&A and you can answer that question, and you can ask that question, and we'll answer it at the end. So we will be joined also by Viwe Kobokana. She'll be sharing on her leadership experience and how that's contributed to her current career success. She's completed her Bachelor of Science in Human Life Sciences and a postgraduate diploma in HIV/AIDS management at the University of Stellenbosch. She served as as an SRC chairperson from 2021 to 2022, and has worked as an intern at the NGO Marty's Community Service. And now she is currently a transformation strategist who specializes in diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. And she's been working as a transformation coordinator at UCT since October 2022. Viwe, we are super excited to have you here. And I'm just going to give it to you. Take it away.
Thank you so much, Tejo. Good afternoon, everyone. Sure, after Nathan's talk, I almost feel like I don't have to talk anymore because he's hit on so many points that I wanted to present on as well today. But I think if anything, that shows you the importance of these concepts that we'll be speaking on today, or that we've touched on. So like Tejo said, my name is Viwe, my pronouns are she, her. I'm the transformation coordinator at UCT's Faculty of Health Sciences. And just a little bit of background on my student leadership journey. So like Tejo said, I was SRC chairperson in 2022, and I've filled other leadership positions as well at Stellenbosch. Before being the chair, I was the transformation officer within the SRC. I served as the student affairs head in the Natural Science Student Committee, which was our faculty committee. And then how I met Tejo was I was a mentor in our student community, and she was head mentor at the time. So I list this not to sort of show off or brag or anything, but to really give a living example of essentially what Nathan touched on, which is that you're at university for minimum 3 years. You can take your time within different leadership positions, one position a year at a time, and that together with the knowledge that you learn within your degree can lead to you being a holistically developed person who is 100% employable in any organization and any institution. So I firstly want to talk about how leadership has impacted my academic journey. I start off with the quote, which I always find funny, but is so true, which is that if you want something done, give it to a busy person. That is so incredibly true. I think anyone who is used to juggling a lot of balls at the same time knows that there's a lot of focus and a lot of prioritization that comes with being so busy. And that enables you as a busy person to be able to complete a lot more tasks than a person who doesn't have as much on their plate and thus becomes a huge procrastinator. So leadership has taught me time management. It's taught me planning and organization skills, prioritizing prioritization, it's a Friday, I'm sorry, assertiveness, and being able to ask for help. So just to go through all of those things that I've learned one at a time. Time management, I think anyone who is a leader in any capacity can attest to. Being a student leader means having to balance going to class, having assignments due, having tutorials, having practicals, and fulfilling your responsibilities as a leader, which is serving your constituencies in whatever capacity, be it as a society leader, political leader, SRC, or faculty committee. So being able to attend those meetings, engaging effectively with the students. So be sort of wearing those two hats at the same time. You often aren't able to take one hat off and put it on, put another one on. You have to wear them at the same time. So you really have to manage doing all of that within a 24-hour day. And then secondly, I learned how to plan and organize my life. So if I've got a meeting that I have to be at 10 o'clock, but I've got class from 9 to 10, I had to figure out how to make that transition physically, going from one venue to another, but also if I've got something due at the end of that day, how to ensure that I fulfill my responsibilities and start my assignment early enough before, so that I'm not late with my deadlines and I don't slack in any one of my responsibilities, either as a student or as a leader. It's taught me prioritization, which essentially means I had to learn, if I've got 2 deadlines on the same day, how am I ensuring that they both fulfilled effectively and to the best of my ability? If I've got 1 week to prepare for one and 2 weeks to prepare for another, I prioritize the one that I only have 1 week to prepare for. But in doing so, still ensuring that I do my best and give my all in both assignments or tasks that needed to be completed. Assertiveness, I think this is something that a lot of people think you're born with, but I think you can learn assertiveness. I know Nathan spoke about having to advocate for yourself, and that is something I am incredibly passionate about. As a student leader, you don't only have to advocate for yourself within your team, but also to students. I think a lot of the time, students can feel entitled to the time and to the resources and to having access to students, and you really have to student leaders, but you really have to be assertive in reminding people that first and foremost, you're here to complete your degree or your diploma or whatever qualification, and so you have to put up those boundaries and say yes or no, I have capacity or I don't have capacity. But within that, it's enabled me to know how to ask for help. So if I'm saying no to someone because I can't fulfill a task, but I know that I've got another colleague who has more capacity, you have to ask for help, or else you are going to be burnt out. And that's not why our parents and our family sent us to university. It's not for us to burn ourselves out on the journey towards becoming professionals or becoming servant leaders or, just becoming holistic individuals. But with all of that, it's taught me and given me the confidence to engage with my lecturers and tutors. So I think that's something I've been incredibly grateful for within student leadership, is you learn all of these skills and you learn all of these competencies. And it's not only applicable within your leadership journey, but also in your academic journey. So in learning assertiveness and learning to ask for help, I've also been able to implement that in my academic journey, where before I might not have had the courage to go up to my lecturer and say, can I please have an extension? I had this crisis, or I'm not understanding this concept. Can I please book one-on-one time with you to go through it? But because I gained that confidence within my leadership capacity, especially having to engage with staff members, which I know can be incredibly daunting as a student, it really molded me into someone who was able to step up and look out for myself as well academically. And I think one thing that I really do try to emphasize a lot with a lot of young leaders, it's that utilize being a student leader, essentially milk it for all it's worth. You've got access to resources that normal students don't have access to. You've got access to people, staff members, colleagues who other students don't have access to, and you have to utilize that. The director in this office, or the manager or the coordinator in that office, and I mean now Nathan and myself at UCT and at UWC. That's a resource that other people don't have access to. And so when you find yourself in a bind, when you need mentorship, when you need assistance, when you need advice and guidance, utilize the resources and the people that you have access to through being a student leader. In capacitating yourself or in assisting yourself in any sort of obstacles that you come along, because ultimately being at university or being in higher education is being sort of, it's that home away from home. And so when you need those adults, so to speak, who you want to lean on or you need to be able to lean on, you have that through the various offices and support systems in the institution. And so I also want to then touch on how I balanced all these responsibilities and all these things I learned during my academic journey. So it's not enough to, like I said earlier, learning all of these things and having all of these competencies. You actually have to implement them. So you know how to prioritize, but do you actually prioritize? You know you have to be assertive, but are you actually assertive? Something I had to learn, unfortunately, the hard way in my leadership journey was, yes, I need to learn all of this in the workshops and summits and work and presentations I attend, but I need to also actually implement them in order to be the best version of myself. And that means having boundaries. And I've put boundaries because it is so incredibly important. The way to protect yourself from being burnt out, from being abused, from losing the passion that drove you towards student leadership is to have boundaries. You have to remind yourself that before you are a leader, you're a student. You're a student leader because you are a student. And so you have to protect yourself against any sort of obstacles that might come up. And you do that by having boundaries, and you do that by self-advocating, whether that's with other students or even with staff members, but particularly with members of your team. So a working example of this is when I was on SRC, in any student leadership organization, exam times are the busiest you are because students are often facing a lot of obstacles. So either they missed an exam and so they need a faculty committee leader to speak to their class rep or to speak to the lecturer, or because you were financially excluded, you don't have access to your Sun Loan or your Vula or whatever platform you use to access your academic resources, or you have food insecurity. But what people forget is you as a student are also very anxious during exam season. And so if you've got an exam the next day, you can't take on that extra responsibility that often comes with being a student leader. So you have to stand up for yourself. You have to say, okay, look, I know one of my teammates has an exam next week or 2 weeks from now, and so they have the capacity to take on assisting the student. I would have loved to help them, or I would have loved to help you, but I can't right now because I'm writing tomorrow. Because if you don't do that, if you don't stand up for yourself, if you aren't assertive, and if you don't remember that you're a student before you're a leader, that's when you end up in an institution for 7, 8, 9 years doing an undergraduate program. And I've seen examples of this. There's some student leaders who when I got to first year were student leaders, and when I graduated with a postgraduate qualification are still doing the same degree they were doing when I started there. And I was in Stellenbosch for 5 years. So you have to remind yourself of why you're there. You have to stay focused. You have to keep on. I mean, it's called a journey for a reason. You put one step forward, you're moving towards a goal, and you have to remind yourself of that. And then I think I saw a question pop up, and I think this slide will probably answer that, which is the influence that having these leadership roles had on my career path. I can say with 100% certainty that I would not be where I am today had I not been a student leader, had it not been for the resources, for the competencies, for the people that I met along the way of being a student leader. I would not be where I am today. First and foremost, it showed me the passion that I have for helping people, for creating safe spaces for people, for advocating for people, that I can turn that into a career. I was actually talking to someone the other day and saying in high school, unfortunately, for whatever reasons, we aren't often told about what different career paths there are out there. And a lot of the time we fall into STEM programs or the general big four, law, accounting, medicine, teaching, and you aren't told of what else is out there. So I've got a BSc as my undergraduate degree, but I'm currently working being in a very social justice kind of a space. And I only knew or learned about the fact that I could turn what I'm passionate about into a career because of student leadership, because of the people I met along the way. And with those people that I met along the way, I was able to ask them to be my mentors, and they connected me with the right people. They told me where to go to look for jobs, and I was able to also have them be references for me. So I mean, Nathan spoke about the list of competencies. So you don't just say I was a leader, but with being a leader, I've got empathy. I'm able to communicate. I've got emotional intelligence. I've got organization skills. All those skills that you learn from being a leader, the people you meet along the way can advocate for you, and can really say such great things about your work ethic and what you brought to the organization or to the institution in your role as a student leader. And so that's just another reminder. After you get your degree, you want to get a job. So nurture the relationships you have as a student leader with the staff members. We're not saying kiss people's asses, excuse my French, but have good working relationships with people such that they can see you as a colleague and they can see you as someone who is going to go out into the world and be a great example of the skills that are taught at your institution. And then, of course, network. You are an advertisement of yourself, of your work, your skills, your knowledge, and your experience. And so don't think that the small event you plan for Women's Month means nothing. That to an organization is an example of what you can do for them. Don't think that the Pride March that you did or the Slut Walk that you did is sort of a drop in the ocean. It's a big event that a lot of organizations, you would be surprised, don't think of. And so to them, that's an example of what you could do for them as a worker. And I think lastly, I just wanted to say that leadership is a lifelong journey. I'm still in leadership now. Yes, I work at UCT, but I still sit on committees. I'm still chairs of some of those committees. And that has contributed to my personal development, to being able to be promoted, to being able to even apply for jobs higher than where I'm at now. All of that has been influenced by, first and foremost, starting as a leader in high school, really, but really being cultivated and molded as a strong leader through university. So if anything, I hope that you take from this presentation today that being a leader is a lifelong journey. There's a lot of competencies you can learn from it. It's not enough to learn about them, but you have to implement them, and don't underestimate yourself. I'm sure you're all really incredible leaders, and I cannot wait to see what you all do in your various paths. Thank you so much, Tshego, for having me.
Thank you, Viwe. Thank you so much for just expanding on your leadership journey and how that has influenced you. And just also touching on the points bringing in the points that Nathan spoke about, having boundaries, making sure that you're focusing on your academic performance as much as you're focusing on your leadership performance, balancing those things, and how you have actively taken those points and used them through your leadership journey. And I think what's very key is leadership is forever. Like, I don't think will ever stop being in a space where you have to develop your leadership skills, where you have to present yourself as a leader. Even if in the space you're not the set leader, there'll be things that you do that have the qualities of a leader. And one question that I do have for you guys, after everything you've heard from Nathan and Viwe, do you believe you are a leader? You guys can answer in the poll that's gone out. Do you believe that with the skills that you've had, with the different spaces you've been in, that you are a leader? I firmly do believe that each and every one of you that is here is a leader, because having that sort of mindset, you put yourself in spaces where you can learn on how to cultivate those skills and how you can better yourself. I'm so glad I'm seeing no-nos. All I'm seeing is yeses and yeses and yeses. I see, guys, for those of you that have your hand up and you have questions, please put them in the chat box, because we're not able to bring you on as a viewer to ask your question like out loud. But Viwe, Nathan, if I could have your beautiful faces on, we'll be moving on to our Q&A session, where you guys can ask any questions that you have. I'll read out the questions that we have so far. Just give me a second. Here we go. The first question is, will the recording be sent out? It will. It will be sent out to you guys. We will be sending out a post comms of this recording for you guys to be able to watch and refer back, and also for people that weren't able to attend that are still wanting to watch the session, it's going to be available for all you guys as live students for Phoenix. I think a question I can pose to Nathan is, how can I decide which organization I should be a part of?
Okay, can I just firstly say I was mesmerized by Viwe, and where you're at. So Viwe, thank you so much for that. I think it really starts, and I'm gonna sound like a stuck record, is understanding yourself, knowing what ticks you, knowing what are the things that you need to be involved in. But what I've realized within our Emerging Leaders program, which is merely a developmental program, it's you attending sessions around different skills, is that students start realizing more about themselves and their passions. And they start realizing when they volunteer at different organizations that, this is the thing that I like. This is where, and a little bit of my journey is that when in my second year, I became a peer educator within the HUNH unit. And I have wanted to become a peer educator in the next year again. And in my final year, I had to go and do an internship. But what I did is list my peer education on my CV. And what in peer education I discovered about myself is that I love facilitation. I love developing and helping young people become better versions of themselves. I would not have tapped into that if I didn't realize and know that, I didn't, if I wasn't part of the opportunity of being a peer educator. But where you can start is our SRC, all SRCs, and I know it's in all the higher education institutions, Vivi can help me as she was a president, is that all SRCs have affiliated structures under them. And so usually there's lists of affiliated structures in organizations you are not even aware of. I promise you, you are not even aware of that list. And so we encourage students to visit the SRC office, or sometimes it's online available, that who are the associations, the clubs, the different student groups that you can possibly be part of. Then you look through the list and then you ask yourself, what speaks to me? Now that I know myself, now that I know what are the things I love, or even if you still need to find out, what are the things that you're passionate about, but you look through the list and see what speaks to you. You give it a try. You don't have to be married to this thing for the rest of your university journey. Give it a try. If it means you are an ordinary member of the Greenpeace Society for 3 months, and then you go on and you become a member of SASCO again, but there's going to be the thing that keeps you remains you there, that you're going to stay there. And that is when you figure out what it is. Don't be afraid to ask the questions. Don't be afraid to ask what is available, but go and ask and see what speaks to you. There's multiple opportunities available on campus, I think. I think we can also maybe speak on this.
Yeah.
No, I completely agree. Most institutions have a website, actually all of them probably, and under that you can go see on the website which societies there are. I know especially international students tend to struggle with joining societies that speak to them. So I know in Stellenbosch they've got like ZimSoc, they've got NAMSOC. So all the African countries, international countries have their own societies. There are so many, I can't even start to give examples because there's so many unique societies in each institution. So I think that would be my advice as well, is to literally hop around. A lot of societies tend to host events as well. So go to an event, start there, you don't even have to join. Start by going to an event, seeing if this, society speaks to you. Also, beginning of the year, most institutions have like a society fair. So that's where societies are literally just handing out pamphlets and telling you what they're about. I would advise you also check that out. Instagram, TikTok, social media, most societies are on there as well. So that honestly, it's just to get yourself out there. You don't have to talk to anyone even, just go and be in the space and see the kinds of people that are present. And then I know some SRCs as well have managerial positions, and then they have subcommittees. So if you're interested in being a leader, but you aren't necessarily an outspoken person, and so you don't want to be sort of the head honcho, you can also be a leader within a committee, within a subcommittee. So you are the foot soldier, you're doing a lot of the work, you're planning the events, you're running the social media. That still counts as being a leader. You may not be the face, but you still are working hard and you still have the same skills and competencies that a leader on an executive committee would have.
Mm.
But if anything, you've got more practical experience actually. So yeah, that would be my advice in putting yourself out there.
Yeah. And just to add on, it might even be closer than you think. You can even go look at your race committee, your house committee. Being able to interact with different like volunteer spaces that might be close within your vicinity as well. You don't always have to look really far to see leadership opportunity. I know for me, I looked within the private organization that I was a part of when I was in Stellenbosch, and I didn't even start off in like as a house comm. I was in a cappella, and then with that I got into the a cappella committee, and then I became a leader within that, and then I became a head mentor. Because I became a mentor as well, I got involved in different spaces in that organization, and I found what I enjoyed, and I stuck to that. I didn't want to be a chairperson. I wanted to do different things. I didn't want to be the person that's in charge of culture, but I enjoyed singing, so I got involved with a cappella. So it's looking at what you also might be doing now and being like, okay, how can I actually get more involved in the current space I'm in? And even asking friends. You might find that the person, maybe you're friends with someone that's a leader, and you can ask them, hey, how can I get involved? I know I'm not really into like being green or like recycling, and I know that's what you're doing. What are other things that are people doing as well? But I know we're running out of time, so I'm just gonna answer 3 other questions or 2 other questions. And if we have, I'm gonna say we're gonna go up to 5 minutes past. But the next question is, I used to apply for the mentoring position, which I believe I qualified for, but never got the opportunity. It's only this year they considered me, and unfortunately, I'm doing my honors degree with another university. How can I start networking in this new environment and build new relations? And I think that also speaks on the next question, because it says it's hard to network. Maybe you can give tips on that. So how can one start networking, and what are tips that someone can use in a new space or even in the current space that they're in to build relations and to also network with individuals?
I think I'll start there and maybe say that firstly, don't be discouraged if somebody, it doesn't mean, doesn't speak to you. That means you just were not the fit at that moment. And you have to do some reflection and ask yourself, what changed? What changed in my CV? What changed in that year that they are now considering me? And so it might have mean that your qualifications or the abilities and capabilities that you've listed on your resume has changed. It doesn't speak to you. It doesn't speak to, it is really a momentarily thing, And so what you can do to start networking, I think there's a few things we need to think of with networking. Maybe there's a session on networking, guys, must do, Sheffield, is that number one, it's how you network. You don't always have to network by using verbal network. You don't always have to walk into an intimidating room and speak about yourself. No. Networking, as LinkedIn shows us, is the connections you make through your professional affiliations. Get your voice heard on different platforms, but don't necessarily have to be that you speak out. If you're a shy person, but you have an opinion, you can type it on platforms. People know who you are now. People see who you are as well. Don't be afraid to actually voice your opinion. Sometimes it is the things that holds us back that sometimes prevents us from getting opportunities. And so people recognize your name from somewhere then. You spoke on a platform, you spoke somewhere. But then I think what is important for us as well when we do networking is you know what to say about yourself. You need to sometimes practice an elevator pitch, guys. And the elevator pitch is the thing, that 30-second thing that if you spend 30 seconds with an executive, what will you say about yourself and what would you highlight? People don't always need to know the whole story of where you come from. They need to know of what can you offer them about yourself. That's it. And you can put it in a nice, concise way. As a shy person, I saw some people saying some people are shy, they don't know how to do it. You literally can write it down. You can speak to one and say, this is who I am. If you're ever interested in somebody that does social media and communications, I'm not the most outspoken, but I'm brilliant at it. This is me. That's it. Refer them to your work and always have a portfolio of evidence. Some of the greatest networking is people speaking about you. People need to speak about you in rooms that you are not in. And the only way people can do that is through you building up your evidence. Build your evidence up through portfolios, through videos, through posts, through referring them to the things you were involved in, where you were in a picture somewhere, with a cohort of people in association. Networking is not a traditional thing that we think is walking into a room of people and talking about yourself. You can do it in various platforms, in various ways. You just have to sit down and be confident enough to write down, because we undersell ourselves so many times. Write down the things that you know you're good at and what you want to offer other people.
Sure, that's powerful. And I think that also, because there was another question that spoke about, self-doubt. Like, how can you overcome self-doubt and, being shy and not being, and I don't want to even use the word not being confident, maybe just not being overt, not being an extrovert, not being a very social person, because you don't have to be the loudest person in the room to make an impact. I think that's what people forget, that you don't have to be this big personality. And I know I speak as someone that is very much a big personality, but you don't have to make that sort of impression to stand out. I think people that have stood out to me have been people that have just spoken to me, and not in terms of like trying to get my attention or anything like that, but just because of common interest, just because we like the same show, just because we liked supplements, like, just having something to talk about, not even something in common, something to talk about, can really create like a long-term relationship with whoever you're in terms of networking. That person might open up a door for you that you never expected. I see Viva, your mic is on.
Yeah, I actually wanted to add like 2 very short points. I know we're running out of time, but I think the beauty of networking in universities, or the beauty of university, is networking is not, hello, I'm networking with you. It's having a conversation with a person. And you don't realize it, but talking to the person sitting next to you in class, that's networking, because you don't know what we're all going to be when we graduate and go into the world of work. But I will always remember my classmates, and now watching their LinkedIn, they're becoming such huge successful people, and they're part of my network, because we used to joke around in class, or we were in the same practical group, or when we did that one group project, we really got along and we went to get drinks afterwards. So networking isn't physically going to a networking session necessarily. It's just being a nice person, just being a good person, engaging with people within your space. Just to give an example, and I think this also links to the person's question about how to make friends. So I will always, always, always recommend being in student leadership because of the friendships you're able to make. A lot of my lifelong friends are friends I met through student leadership. I don't want to expose nepotism, but Tef was one of my best friends, and we met through student leadership. She was my head mentor, like I said, and we also were in a cappella together. But so that's an example of making friends and networking, because look where I am now. She's invited me to talk on a webinar. She's part of my network and I'm part of hers. So I think literally networking and making friends, it's not this huge concept that we sometimes struggle to grasp. It's as little as striking a conversation with a person. It's meeting people who have similar interests than you. You don't have to be lifelong friends, you don't have to be best friends, but they're part of your network. They can vouch for you if you apply for a job, they're on your selection committee, or vice versa. You had a good working relationship, and I think that's why I said you are an advertisement of yourself. How you work with other people is what's going to stick to people. That's what's going to make them, when they talk about you when you aren't there, make them say good things and not talk about you for the wrong reasons. That's what's going to make them say good things when you're not there, because you were an amazing person to work with. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. I know we're running out of time. The last question, I think I can just speak on it. It just asks, how can we get to network with Phoenix community and knowing each other? I think this is one example of that, being a part of the different sessions that we're a part of, coming to these webinars. And also we do have other things where, our donors will be like, we're having this event, are students keen to join? And we'll always send out invites in terms of being part of those sessions. We'll always, as Phoenix, as a community, we'll always look out for how can we get our students to be more involved? How can we have our students in the space of Phoenix, not just, okay, I'm a Phoenix student, this is what I'm fundraising. but also being able to be part of sessions like this, being able to be mentored. I know we had a visa session with one of our donors during Nelson Mandela Day, and they were like, look, we want to be able to mentor an individual, and some people signed on, some people didn't sign on. It was online and some was in person as well. I had the pleasure of going in person, and it was amazing to see students being part of the Phoenix community, also being added into the visa community as well, not just as a student that's received funding from visa, but receiving a mentor, you know. And some mentors have taken the person that they met that day and want to continue to mentor them throughout their journey, you know. So I think also I want to challenge you guys as students that are here. If you see opportunities to interact with Phoenix, maybe it might get in line of like, you know what, I'm chilling today, I don't really want to join this webinar, but it's an opportunity for you to learn more, upskill as well, you know, like take this and apply this in your academic journey, in your career as well. And getting more involved, asking questions. You know, now I see these different names and I'm like, okay, cool. These questions, I didn't get a chance to answer them. I'll reach out to you privately via email as well. So guys, I just want to challenge you. I know you guys are here in the session, but come to the next one. Come to part 2, you know. And also just, I'm super excited to have had such amazing people to be part of this session, our first session. Viwe, Nathan, I think you guys gave so much insight into how, you know, students can be part of leadership, how people's leadership skills can come out in different ways, not just through organizations, but through different spaces in their lives, through volunteering, through an event. And I just want to give a big thank you to you guys for being here today. I know we ran over time. I think it's because we're all very passionate about this topic. But I just want to say a big thank you. I want to say a big thank you to you guys that joined today. It's amazing to have people come on, especially, you know, it's 1 o'clock, it's a lunch hour. You could be on campus doing your thing as well. And I just want to give a big thank you to everyone. And I hope you enjoy your Friday. I love Fridays. Fridays is my favorite day. It's the end of the week. You know, get to have fun with your friends. Get to have fun however you want to have fun. But take care of yourselves, guys. And I hope you enjoy the rest of the week. We will be sending out comms with this recording. If you have any other questions, you can also email me, well, and we can answer those questions because we have run out of time. But we are super glad that you guys were here today. And yeah, enjoy your Friday. Happy Phoenix Friday, guys. Bye.